Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Coffee and Careers. I'm Liz.
And I'm Jess.
And today we're going to be talking about resumes in the modern age. And I'm going to turn it over to Jess first to talk about just how resumes should be a little bit different from LinkedIn.
Yeah. So our past couple of videos that we've put out there, we've talked about how to structure your LinkedIn, what you should and should not include there. But now, what about resumes? You know, LinkedIn's are all well and good, but that's not the piece of paper you're going to hand to people during a career fair. So what does that matter? And one of the bigger differences, I would say, between LinkedIn and resumes is LinkedIn should be about a comprehensive view of everything you've ever done. It's a social media, so to say, you know, at the end of the day. So with that comes putting in that summer job, like we talked about, that lifeguarding experience that you had. While your resume should be only the most relevant, only the most recent opportunities. And sometimes those aren't the same thing, relevant and recent, but sometimes they are. And those should be the two things that you're keying into for a resume. As well, with a LinkedIn, it should tell a story. You know, you should be talking in what you accomplished, that storytelling aspect of your experience, you know, what you contributed to that company. While resumes, all bullet points, highlight that data-driven accomplishments that you've had, include achievements and awards in a separate section. You know, don't put those as top salesman of the year in the be its own bullet point. Put that down in an award section or something like that. And with that as well, you know, you don't want to download your resume directly from LinkedIn. Why would I not want to do that?
It's going to give you all the information like we just talked about. You know, you want just those little bit of, a couple bullet points, the most brief information for your resume. Your LinkedIn hopefully has everything. So you don't want an employer to spend 20 minutes having to read everything on your resume.
And you know, when you download from LinkedIn, it's in a very different format than what you should be formatting your resume in. You know, you never know who's going to be looking at your resume or what parsing system that you're entering your resume into. You know, you want to make sure that as you're giving that over to a company, whether it's in person or electronically, that they can get the most information, most relevant information out of it as possible. So that means sticking to a standard, you know, format to make sure that you have that best chance of standing out and getting through to that next step where hopefully you are talking to a person and not a machine.
Can you touch a little bit more on like that software point? Because a lot of people might not know what that looks like whenever they submit a resume, maybe through a website or something like that.
Yeah. So you have your resume and it has all these keywords in it. You know, you're looking to apply for, let's just use one of our jobs, for example. You're applying to a huge third-party logistics company and you're putting your resume into it and you're applying to an operations role. So the recruiters on the other side of that might tell their system, I only want to look at resumes from people with their graduation years, with operations as keywords listed throughout their resume, you know, looking for specific skills that you have. And that's a machine that does it. There might never be a person that looks over your resume until you're scheduling for that first interview, if that machine decided. So making sure that your resume is easily parsed by a machine, by an AI, that it doesn't have different colors on it, no matter how fun those may be. I always enjoy looking at those resumes when people put their headshots on there or add their creativity to it. I think it's awesome, but it's not always helpful when you're trying to get to that next step, unfortunately. Let that creativity show through a portfolio, if you have that, if you're going into a creative field, but leave that as a more standard format for that application process.
That makes sense. And what you said as well about you can have that more fun resume with your headshot or maybe it's got a little bit of color to it. I've seen a couple that have been submitted to us that have some pink or some orange or something like that. They do stand out, but use those for in-person interactions. Use those at a career fair or a networking event. But if you are submitting something online, try and keep it that normal, concise, kind of standard format to hopefully ensure that it is seen, at least by somebody after it, goes through that AI software for companies who do use something like that.
Yeah. And LinkedIn's not the only website where you can download your resume from. What are maybe some other job boards or things that people should look out for their resume when applying?
So I've seen a lot of resumes come through our system from Indeed, and they have a very specific format. And same thing with ZipRecruiter. They have just formats that are specific to their website, and it's not that they don't look great, it's just that we can tell when candidates create their own resume versus when they have a system do it. And when you have that system do it, again, it goes back to that format might not be, what is as easy to read. It also might not get through some of those systems that other companies might be using. So I think it's really important just to make sure that you take the time to create your own resume. Feel free to use an Indeed or ZipRecruiter or even LinkedIn template. If you download your resume from there, just to kind of get the idea of how to put things together, but make sure that you put that personal touch of creating it yourself. And again, you want to make sure that it looks as professional as possible and is as easy to read as possible. So that's going to be making sure that you have bullet points and avoiding long paragraphs and keeping things pretty concise. And in our next video, we'll be going more in depth as far as exactly what you want to include on that resume, but for the most part, stick to that standard format. And again, like I said, once you do make it yourself, so it's in your own format, it's really important that you actually save it and upload it as a PDF.
Yes.
And do you know why that's so important?
Because it can be shifted or changed if it's a Word document or something different. We've had experiences where people have uploaded a Word document and it's had edits on it from individuals and has had red lines throughout. And, it's great that you're getting your resume reviewed.
Absolutely.
But we want to make sure that we're seeing the best version of you. That's what your resume should be. It's not time to get edits, Though we love to give those. If you want to ask our opinion on resume edits, we'd be happy to give them to you and help you out there. But it's not the time or place.
Exactly. And I think the other piece with keeping it as a PDF is that it makes sure that that format won't change. Sometimes with Word docs, when you download it or when you have somebody else download it, it can change where the spacing of things is, or it can change and put things on different pages. Things just might not line up to how you created it. So when you save it as a PDF, you know exactly how it's going to show up on somebody else's computer. So that is a very important point that not a lot of people might think about, the importance of uploading it as a PDF, but that is one of my biggest tips just from resumes that I've seen come through our system. Make sure that you guys are taking the time to just save it as a PDF and uploading it that way.
Definitely, especially with Google Docs as well.
Oh, yes.
There's a million different things out of there that you can make a resume in. So that PDF really just gives you that clean slate across the board. Is there anything else that you want to talk about with resumes in the modern age?
I don't think so. I think just to kind of recap everything, make sure that you take the time to put together your own resume using templates if you need it for guidance, but keep it very short, concise, the most relevant information only, and upload it as a PDF once you're finished.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, thanks so much for joining us this episode, and we look forward to chatting with you next time.